I'm going to teach you magic today. I'm not joking. Joking is something I don't really do. This is a different form of entertainment, and it will be magic. Before I do, a couple of notes for new listeners. Diacardia is a podcast for pairs or partners. It is designed for two people to listen to together, unlike most other podcasts, and designed for you to listen and to speak from the heart to each other. Who's the partner? Could be a parent or a child, a friend, a sibling, a coworker. It could be your direct manager or your co-founder. So if you're alone today, my first suggestion is get your partner and bring them here. And my second suggestion is feel free to watch along and then bring them along to see the recorded version later. My second suggestion is that you think about watching this on YouTube. I'm a big believer in the combination of oral from the mouth and oral through the ear and visual, that having both in play helps an enormous amount. So consider watching this on YouTube. Although I know people love to do podcasts in an audio format only when they're in the car, when they're walking or running or doing chores, and it's easy to do that. So by all means, feel free to do that. So let me then share my screen for those of you who are online. And what you'll see is that listening is magic. You might recognize this bell from a magical show called The Polar Express, which had to do with belief and who could actually hear on a different kind of level. That's what we'll be sharing and exploring today. So just what is magic besides kid stuff? Well, magic is defined as the power of apparently influencing the course of events by mysterious or supernatural forces. The power of apparently influencing the course of events by mysterious or supernatural forces. For example, in relationships, listening magic can truly change, not just apparently, but truly change the course of events by changing conflict to confluence. And it is supernatural. It flows from an unnatural way of listening. It's a way we weren't taught and we seldom practice. And magic often involves misdirection. But this magic is about redirection, to look at what's really happening in a different kind of way and to use your thought process in a very different kind of way. So the magic will flow from a new word in Greek transposed into English, a neologism, a new word, an idea that again is not about misdirection, but about redirection. And the magic will flow from your listening to me. Just kidding about that part, but listening to me through you, through your ears, your experience, your heart, and listening to your partner. And if you do that well, the magic will happen. And most importantly, to continue it through practice, because it really does take practice to master the magic of listening. Here's what we'll do. 2 minutes of centering breath, 2 minutes to share gratitude with your partner, about 7 minutes for me to share with you some thoughts on how this magical listening happens, a few minutes for me to set up for you your one-to-one diacardia, that is to help you focus on a way to listen. And then I would suggest 20 to 25 minutes shared, split in half. So one of you speaks for 10 to 12 minutes. Of course, you can take longer, and of course, you can take less. But I would suggest 10 to 15 minutes each for full listening. So that's what we're about. Well, We'll start with breath and centering. And I have to tell you that breathing itself is magic. It is scientifically demonstrable magic. That attentive breathing, aware breathing, even for 2 minutes, will generate measurable positive change. And I'm going to run through 4 ways that your body is going to change when we do 2 minutes of breathing. Number one, your heart rate is going to slow because with this disciplined breathing, you activate what's called the autonomic system, which is the rest relax system through your vagus nerve. You will calm almost instantly. Second, you will lower your blood pressure because what will happen is that you will reduce the fight or flight arousal that happens. And even in relationships, we know we experience fight or flight sometimes. Just anticipating doing this podcast with somebody may create resistance, that you will resist them and resist yourself. You will flee from them and flee from yourself. By breathing at the beginning, you will ease vascular tension and promote circulation. Third, you'll improve your heart rate variability. Now, one could do whole lectures on heart rate variability, but when you breathe at about a pace of 6 breaths a minute, you actually balance out the nervous system, and this will boost your resilience. People actually living longer when they have a strong variable heart rate. And lastly, you will reduce the release of stress hormones like cortisol. Just a minute to 2 minutes of focused breathing has shown to decrease people's level of cortisol, a companion to adrenaline that gets you wired or fired up. So are you ready? Are you ready to relax and breathe a little bit? Then follow me in this little pattern that I'll share with you. Here's how we'll breathe. We're going to be using your nose and we're going to be using your ears. So for your nose, you're going to breathe in and out through your nose, and you can start to experiment as you listen to me. So the pattern, which I will demarcate for you, will be 3 counts on the in-breath through your nose, 3 counts of hold, and then 6 counts out. So in, hold, out, 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 out. And we'll do this 6 times. It'll take us about 2 minutes. And what I want to invite you to do during this process is to listen. So listen to your breathing itself. So if you've already started the 3-3-6 pattern, now add in listening to your breath. I'm exaggerating. So are you ready? Now, let me just note for you that when you breathe in, you'll probably hear yourself breathe in. You'll have to listen for it. When you hold, who knows where your mind will go? But on the out breath, you get to come back to the sound of your breath. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to count it out for you. In, 2, 3. Hold, 2, 3. Out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. In through your nose, 3. Hold, 2, 3. Out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Listen as you breathe in, 2, 3. Hold, 2, 3. Out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. In, 2, 3. Hold, 2, 3. Out. Listen, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. In, 2, 3. Hold, 2, 3, out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. One more round. Listen. In, 2, 3. Hold, 2, 3. Out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Maybe you notice the calming. Maybe you notice your mind telling you you didn't do it right, or you lost track, or you didn't like my voice. All totally fine. Breathing itself takes practice, or you can give it practice, and it will help you to be more present. So now I invite you to be present to gratitude. If you join me for the first session, you know that the first and foundational basis for great partnership is that you share appreciation in a ratio, in the most thriving of relationships, of 5 positive expressions for every 1 critical expression. And gratitude is a fantastic way to do this. I will offer you a stem now for you to practice gratitude, but you can practice gratitude with anything you'd like. I have a 2-minute timer, so I'll give you each 1 minute to share and to continue your breath work to stay focused. But what I would suggest is that if you'd like a stem to share gratitude, if you don't have something spontaneous that you want to share, then try this. You could say, when I step back and think of your family, I am grateful for. You got it? When I step back and think of your family, I'm grateful for. So the idea here is you'll each take 1 minute to finish that stem. When I step back and think of your family, I'm grateful for. So decide who goes first, and here we go. 1 minute. I'll tell you when it's up. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now, of course, you can pause me at any time. That's the beauty of doing this asynchronously if you want to spend more time on any activity. So now we're going to flip. The one who is listening will now speak, and I'll repeat the stem. When I step back and think of your family, I'm grateful for. So when I think of your family, I'm grateful for. 1 minute. Okay, and that's a minute, so pause me if there's something you want to continue to share. But see if you can just note what good feeling feels like. maybe in your body, maybe a smile, maybe relaxing in your neck, maybe just some appreciation that you haven't felt in a while, and see if you can't continue the practice long beyond this session. So I want to take you on a journey with me. I have been on this journey wondering, is there, or why isn't there, a single word that represents elevated listening, a single word that means really get it, really understand, like to listen in a way that's fully active. Why don't we have a word for that? I wondered, a word that stands for really understands or gets me. And it doesn't exist in English yet. It doesn't exist yet. But how about if we invent it? Now, I love this word invent, because if you break it in two, what you have is an invent, that somebody came up with an idea or a product or a concept, or in this case, a word. And this word came to me, not by myself, but it came to me with some help, because I've been asking ChatGPT, maybe there's a word in another language. Maybe some other culture really has a simple word that gets at the idea of listening so wonderfully and so fully and so intently that the other person feels understood. And guess what? If you're online, you see the picture of a white glass of wine and a red glass of wine, and the two glasses are tinking in a toast. And so, with the help of ChatGPT, I heard a ting, and I offer it to you as a new English word. I invite you to see that ting is the thing, and to see if you can, with your partner right now, practice ting. You might guess where I incorporated this word from. What Chat helped me to discover is that there is a word written as a character in Mandarin or in Chinese. And the cool thing about Chinese language is that often the characters are composite figures. They're made up of other individual characters, sometimes called radicals. And so if you're watching online or you want to grab this PowerPoint later, you'll see a beautiful image drawn by an artist in multicolors. And the colors of the individual radicals that form the full character are this. At the bottom left is the figure of the king, but it really stands in this case for being respectful, like a king, being upright, and bringing respect to a conversation. So you're going to listen to your partner with respect. And then top left, you'll see the character for ear. So obviously you will listen, you will hear, a physiological thing that happens. Your eardrum will vibrate as you listen to the other person, and you will pay attention to those vibrations. How? Well, you will also use your eye in the top right of the character to see the other person, to see they may be struggling with an idea. Their brow may be furrowed. They may be leaning back because they don't feel heard for a minute. They may seem frustrated or sad or angry or really joyful. And your eye will tell you this in a way that your ear will not. Then below that is the simple radical character of a slash, a single horizontal slash. It is the character for the number 1. But in this case, you could think of it as undivided attention, that you're listening without your attention being divided, but totally undivided. Now, you may drift, you will drift as your partner talks. You will think they are wrong. You will think of something else. You will think you might have left the kettle on the stove. You may think about what you did yesterday or today. But this little piece of tinging of the full character of listening reminds you to bring undivided attention to them. And then the bottom right is a really cool looking radical or separate character, and that is heart. That's what Diacardia is all about, is listening through the heart, not just the head, not just the ideas, the concepts, the facts, the logic, but listening to how somebody says something. You might think of it as listening to the music and not just the lyrics. They may be singing the blues. They may be singing a very romantic tale. They may be singing a really jazzy tune that's quick and upbeat. So Ting is my invitation to you. And I will remind you that listening then is the furthest thing from passivity. Listening instead is a great act of giving. That when you pay attention, when you pay attention to the other, you're paying out an extraordinary gift to them. You're saying, I will be here and I will listen with my eyes and my ears, with deep respect, with undivided attention, and I will listen with my heart. Now, I want to go back to science for a minute, especially if you're watching me. I'll try to convey this orally to you, is that the effect of the gift that you're giving has been studied through fMRI studies, right? Magnetic resonance imaging of the brain. And we know that the effect of the gift is to do two things in the receiver's brain, the person who's speaking and is listened to. On the left side of the brain, in the picture I'm showing, you'll see that there is very technical language here, but the ventral striatum and the VMPFC are being stimulated. And these are reward activations. These are the feeling that someone is being rewarded. Can you remember that as a kid when you did a spelling bee or you pronounced a word or you said something in another language and people expressed tremendous delight and your brain actually lit up, a part of it lit up that felt this is good. I am safe. I am connected. I feel great. And on the right side of the picture I'm showing is this brain stem, what's considered the first part of our brain that formed, and a part called the amygdala. And what happens here is that the threat response is actually dampened. So the amygdala is what generates that fight and flight in us, that instinct that we are not safe and we must respond in an instinctual way. But when a person is listened to very effectively, what happens is the amygdala quiets. So this is the beautiful gift you're giving in listening to your partner. So I want to now just do two things. I want to frame your diacardia, just offer you a reminder or a way to listen. And then I'll come to the very simple question. I'll share it with you right now, which is what's on your mind or heart today or these days, that you'll just ask that question and give your partner 10 to 15 minutes to just answer while you will give the gift of listening. So I offer you three thoughts to frame your diacardia today. The first one, set the intention to ting. In other words, make the intentional choice, even though you may drift away from it, to get your partner, to get them, to get the whole thing, to bring respect to them. I'm going back to the Chinese character now, to sit like a king or a queen as you listen to them. Perhaps you are their king, so to speak. You're the man. Be the king and honor the queen. Be the queen and honor the king. If you happen to be gay, you might relate to being, or LGBTQ, you might relate to being the queen to their queen or the king to their king. or it may not be gendered for you at all. You may be the Jack or the Joker, but to be fully present with your ears, to come back to listening to them, with your eyes to notice the emotion that's happening them, with the one of your undivided attention, which you will just return to because you will drift. It's what happens to us. You'll want to argue, you'll want to couch things, you'll want to compare their experience to your experience, but you're going to come back to undivided attention. And lastly, in all caps, to listen with your heart, diacardia, to hear their heart speaking and open yourself in your own heart to receive that. That's point one. Point two, how, is just to think of a shift from conversation to interview. In conversation, we bing, bang, bong, back and forth. But in the ting, we keep listening. Ting, like a reminder. Ting, come back. Now, your partner may be able to talk, if they're me, for 10 minutes or 10 hours, but in some cases, they are just not that verbal. They don't like to talk about themselves, and so they run out of things to say. And first of all, that's okay. Just hear the ting of silence, a bell that reminds you to be present. But point number three, if the speaker stops because they've run out of things to say, because they don't like to speak about themselves, you could ask how. Take the words they've given you. What's on their mind today? They say, work, I'm really frustrated with somebody at work. You might say, how are you showing up when you're frustrated? Or you might ask, what? What's really getting you frustrated? What do you think is at the core of it? What was it about the way that they said that? What was it in the content? Or you could simply say more. I'm curious. So those are my three thoughts for framing. Listen with the ting of your whole self. Shift from conversation to interview. And lastly, if there's a pause in the action, so to speak, ask open-ended questions that get at how or what, or simply say more. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put on the screen the question, and then I'll come back and put up these thoughts for framing. So the question for today is so simple. What's on your mind or your heart today? Or what's on your mind or heart these days? Then what I'm going to suggest is you set your own timer, and then I will come on immediately when you hit play, and I will share some closing thoughts. So right now, remembering those three things, remembering your question, begin your dialogue. I will go back to this screen that you're on to look at the thoughts to frame your diacardia, and then I will come back when you're finished with some thoughts and an invitation for feedback. Thank you so much. So I said at the beginning that the magic would happen as you listen to me about listening, but especially as you listen to yourself and to each other. And that the most important thing was, the third thing was to practice. I practice breathing every single morning for an hour. And sometimes I'm barely aware of my breath, but 2 or 3 times. And then I try to be aware during the day of my breath, and so I will stop. And that might happen 3 or 6 or 10, or sometimes I will go through a whole day without returning to my breath a single time. So talking about diacardia now, how you and your partner and all of your partners, all of your children or your parents, your cousins, your neighbors, your people at church or synagogue or at the mosque, people in your neighborhood, as you listen, I want to suggest one thing for yourself and one thing about the other. in a tough or just interesting time at work or at home, ask yourself, what if I ting this? What if I give the other person the respect of totally getting them, totally paying attention to them, using my ears and my eyes, my undivided attention and my heart? What if I just do that? I find so often that problems get solved by people, that breakthroughs happen when I simply listen to them. I don't have to persuade them or change them or fix them or give them information or twist them or manipulate them. I really have to listen to them because people are really basically good. And when they get listened to, they think their way through to something great. So ask yourself, what if I ting this? And then in a tough or just interesting time, ask your partner, hey, can we just ting this thing? Can we go back to what we did when we were listening to Diacardia with Dan and we were listening to each other? So you could say to your partner, hey, can you listen to me in that Diacardia spirit? Can you listen to me heart to heart? Can you not try to change me or argue or multitask, but just give me your one undivided self and listen to me? It would be such a gift. It's okay as adults to ask for gifts. As kids, you were supposed to just wait for them. But as adults, you can wait, but you can also ask for the gift. Can you just ting this thing with me? Can you listen to me in that diacardia spirit? Okay, lastly, here's a little QR code you could shoot with your phone. You can search on diacardia. Nobody else has it yet. I probably need to service market or trademark it or something. But look for diacardia. You can find the podcast, on Spotify, on YouTube, on Apple, and help us improve. Here's a QR code for a little survey that you could do if you happen to be watching this. But you can always email me at dan@leadingx numeral 2, leadingx2.com. So dan@leadingx2.com. I hope you have a diacardia week. It's good for your heart. It'll lower your blood pressure. It'll lower your pulse. It will help your vascular circulation. It'll lower your cortisol. Work the magic.